Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Leap morning pre-market analysis and trade plan setup for Wednesday, May 28, 2014. Had our long weekend, Memorial Weekend for you American folks. So we didn't do one on Monday, and we didn't do one yesterday because I was traveling to Toronto. But we are going to do one today. So my name is Doug McKay. I am the founder and head moderator for Quantum Leap. We've been around with a private Skype group coming up on 5 years. We have a private Skype room that we come in and talk about trading, talk about trades and market observations. If you want to find out more about it and come and visit, you can send me a Skype request to Doug_McKay. I'll be the one from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It is a private venture. It is not a commercial venture. You can also send me an email to d.mckay@stealthtrader.com. This is my new email, and we will be starting up the stealthtrader.com website in the next few weeks. And, of course, we'll be moving everything over there in terms of the chat, and the live trade room will start back up again. Each morning we come together to do a pre-market analysis and trade plan setup for the ES and the Russell and gold. And we start with the macro to the micro, so we start with the key numbers and then the macro trends down to the micro trends. And we do this as a routine to get prepared for trading each day. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, you might want to skip ahead until we get into some more in-depth chart analysis and then setting up our trade levels for the day and our targets and hypotheses. Before I do anything, I've got to get the disclaimer out of the way, so let me do that. This information is for the purpose of educating members who want to expand the knowledge of the business of trading. It's not for trading or investment advice. You and only you are responsible for the trades or investment decisions you make. Trading futures or any instrument involves the risk of loss. Please consider carefully whether futures or options are appropriate to your financial situation. Only risk capital should be used when trading futures or options. Investors could lose more than their initial investment. Nobody at Quantum Leap is a certified trading advisor. We are retail traders operating within a self-organized learning environment. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and any trades that you see in Quantum Leap are for education purposes only. Please trade your own plan and do your own due diligence. Okay, with that said, let's go right into the key numbers. Well, before that, let's talk about yesterday. Anybody that's been in the room knows that I've been talking about the rule of 10, and it's a very simple rule, and it has got a high probability, and you can only go find that out for yourself if you do some back testing and look at it. But anytime a security, whether it be a stock, an ETF, a future, or a commodity, anytime they hit a centennial number for the first time, i.e. a stock price for it hits 100 for the first time. In this case, we hit 1900 for the very first time. Usually, you've got a very good probability of blowing through that centennial number by about 10 points. And they call it the rule of 10. And you can see that once we went up and broke the 1900, I told everybody, stay long, and wait for that 1910. And yesterday, what did we do? We went and hit 1910 to the tick. Now, overnight, we've got a little bit higher, but again, the rule is a great rule if you just follow it and look for that blow through up to at least 1910. I always look at 2.5, 6.5, and 10 are the usual numbers that are my three targets to get there, and those were hit beautifully. So let's start with the key numbers. So we are definitely in a very bull year. We're above our open at 1837.75. We put in a new all-time high, month high, year high overnight in the Globex session at 1914. This is going to be a key number you're going to want to watch today. Nothing else really jumps out at me because we're into the 1900s and we're in uncharted territory. So going right down to the intraday numbers, we opened last night in the Globex, we opened Tuesday's session in the Globex at 1903 and a quarter. We had a Globex high at 1906 and a low of 1902. we opened auction out of range at 1904.75. So the first thing you'd be looking for is initiative buyers stepping in and ripping this higher and going up and hitting that 1910, which we did. You can see all the Globex numbers are trending upwards. We opened auction out of range. We broke the IB to one side, so normal variation with a 2 3/4 point opening swing. That was, our first clue that we were going to get a rotational day with an upside bias, with having a greater than 2 points market on open orders. Opening swing high, 6 1/4. Opening swing low, 350. Our first hour initial balance high, 1909. Didn't think it was going to hold, and it eventually got broken later in the day and went to that 1910. Our initial balance low, 1903.50, holding us outside of the prior day range and ripping us higher. You can see that our initial balance has been trending up as well. Our intraday numbers, you can see again, all trending up. We had a 1230 number, 1906, our RTH high, 1910, low 0350, our close, 1909, and our VPOP shifted up to 1906.75. So we are very much trending up on the intraday as well. Looking at the 20-day ATRs, they continue to constrict, believe it or not. We are now just over 13 for the 20-day RTH. Just over 15.5 for the full session, and just over 7 3/4 for the Globex. We still can expand and explode out of here, and it's got me wondering whether or not we're going to see a blow off top into the 1930s, 1940s, possibly 1950. It's bizarre that we're breaking out of balance and not expanding our range. We're actually constricting our range. Our value area high, 9 1/4, value area low, 5 3/4 for a 3.5 point value area. You can see that our value areas as well, in terms of the range, our value area are constricting as well. And then we broke the IB to the high side in the second pocket at 9:50 Central Time. Volume was very light. Look at the volume lately. We're doing this on very late volume. Now we were in a holiday weekend, but I would have thought the volume would have picked up yesterday. But I think this market's got everybody frightened, and everybody's sitting on the sidelines and waiting to see when the opposing force is going to step in there. And who knows when that's going to be. So we'll see what happens today. Looking at the 20-day ATR targets to the upside, currently right now we have a full session high at 1914, full session low at 1908.25. So our full session high is 1923.75 for our ATR target to the upside, and then 1898.50 to the low side. There is no scheduled news today. There's lots of headline risks, but there's no actual scheduled news events that should have any impact on the trading day. So just keep an eye out on the news and Ukraine and everything that's going on with Russia, and that's about the only news effect that we've really got going on. Let's take a look at the trends, macro to the micro. Always start with the monthly. Monthly is very much in trend mode. We have good slope and separation of the 9 EMA and the 20 SMA. We're above the prior month high and trading near the all-time highs at 1914. So the trend is very much intact on the monthly. On the weekly, same thing. We've kind of gone a little bit parabolic on the weekly. We've got a bit of a tech gap against the 9 EMA right now. So got to keep an eye on this, whether or not we just go sideways and consolidate and let the 9 EMA catch up to close the gap, or else we come down and close it by price. Right now, a gap close, I think, is going to be somewhere in around the 1898 area, as where I figure is we'll close this this technical gap. On the daily, you've got a trend going as well, and you've got a technical gap going as well against the 9 again. There's really not a lot up here to give us guidance, so I drew a couple fib extensions. Our 127 extension is going to take us up to basically 1915.75. That would be a target that I'd be looking at, and I'm just going to write that down for myself. And then the 161.8 extension is up at 1932 and a quarter. And that's about the only thing that we can get from the daily. Taking a look at now, I was trying to draw and see if I could get a fork that gave me good frequency on the daily, another upward sloping fork to give me some guidance here. I even went down to the 4 hour to look at it. It really didn't. I couldn't find one that I liked. So basically, what we've got here is we've got two upward sloping forks. Long-term, mid-term, and then the opposing fork that we just broke out of, and we hit that energy point last week and broke above the center line of the intermediate upward sloping fork. So a retest of this center line from above would take us down to 1890.75 area, 1891 and a quarter area to test this from above. If we go up and test, now that we're held the bottom line of the upward sloping longer term fork, a test to the center line of that fork is going to take us up to about 1940 today, thereabouts. So just keep an eye on that. We do have this energy point right here. Up at 1916.25, and that's due on June the 14th. So we'll keep an eye on what we do there. We've got another one down below us beforehand that's down here at the 1866.75 area. But if we come back down here, it's the big number I'd be looking at is 1865, that composite VPOC and microcomposite VPOC. So let's take a look at the trends on the intraday coming into the market here, going down to the 4 hour. You can see that we're very much in a trend on the 4 hour, good slope and separation on the 9 and the 20. Got a bit of a technical gap here. A gap close will take us down to in around 1907. I really think it's 1906.75 personally, and I'll show you why when we get into the composite chart. But very much the trend is intact on the 4 hour. Going to the 30-minute, you see that we had a technical gap. We had trend. It was light. The slope was not that great. And then we closed the technical gap, and then we just broke down below the 9 and the 20. So there's no trend on the 30-minute coming into the RTH session. On the 5-minute, a little bit of a different story. We've got a trend starting here, good slope and separation on the 9 and the 20, but we've got a technical gap to the low side, and a tech gap will take us up here into that 1909, 1910 area and test the range high from yesterday to close this gap. And we'll just see how this reacts. So let's go over to the composite chart. So we were watching this this longer-term microcomposite, the balance area that we were trading inside of. And the microcomposite VPOC for that is at 1965. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I'm just going to move this to the back. Whoops, not to the front, to the back. You can also see that the composite, which is the black profile, the composite going back to October the 9th, 2013, most accepted price, or the composite VPOC, is down here at 65. But we were trading inside of this balance on the longer term, and our value area high for that was at 1879.75. And that was an area that we were watching last week for the breakout of value. And and make a run up for this 8150 and this 1890.25. And then we were watching inside of this where we tried to hold value in around 1890.25 with a value area high at 94.75 and a value area low at 87.25. And we were looking for the breakout, and we broke out and we tested the range high and tested that all-time high at 1898.50, hit the 1899.25, and then we closed at 1897. On the Friday, and then we were looking for that holiday drift on Friday. We got it to go make a new high, but they barely made a new high, and then we opened up outside of the range and outside of value on Monday on the short day, and then yesterday we continued to go up and conclude the rule of 10 to 1910. So right now we are above the longer term range and value, and we're in no man's land up here. We've got two CHVNs that you want to pay attention to, the one at 1909.50 and the one here at 06, I thought it was 06.75. Is it 07? Yeah, it's 06.75. So we've got one at 06.75, and then there's really not much to guide us. Come on. My drawing tools are really not working very well lately. So we really don't have a lot above us to guide us. See, we've got that 1915.75, which is the 127 extension, and then the 1932.25, which is the 168. But we've got this area down below us that is basically a no man's gap, and very little volume from below 1903.25 or yesterday's range low all the way down to 1900 or 1899.50. We've got basically a huge gap down here with the gap close all the way down at 1897. So this will get closed. I just don't know if it'll be today. I think today we're likely to chop around to the upside, possibly go and take out the 1914 overnight and take out. I think we're going to get possibly a neutral day or a neutral extreme. Neutral extreme, I would expect the extreme to be the downside to test and come down here and test the 1900. So let's take a look at what we've got overnight so far and move our numbers over onto our trade chart. So currently right now we have an overnight low at 1908.25. And our overnight high is 1914. And our current overnight VPOC, which I don't think is going to shift, is at 950. So right at that CHVN 950. And just outside of our value area. So inventory is basically net positive to, I would say, more neutral. But we did have a fair amount traded above the close from yesterday, so it's a little bit positive, but more with the 950 overnight VPOC. It's pretty neutral. So here's what I'd be looking at and how I look to trade this. Right now, we're going to be opening up in range and just sitting on this value area high from yesterday. The value area high from yesterday is 9.25. The value area low is down here at 575 with the microcomposite, I'm sorry, not the micro, the naked VPOC down here at 675. So if we fail to break outside of this value, the gap close is going to happen almost immediately on the open at 1909. If we were open at this area, I'd expecting the 1909 to get closed out and then come down and test the overnight low. If we break below the overnight low, then I look for a move down to this 1906.75 to take out the naked VPOC and come down and test the CHVN to see if they can pick up responsive buyers down there. The value area low is just below it at 905.75. So I'd be looking for that as a target to the first target to the downside below the 1906.75 and an area where I would expect responsive buyers to step in. If we, break above the value area high here at 1909 and a quarter, then I would expect us to test the 1910. So I would be using the 1910 as a trade area for a breakout to the upside, with the first target being this 1914 overnight high, because I think if we get above range from yesterday, that we could get some extension to test the Globex high up here. And then we've got that 127 extension target just above that at 1915.75. And then there's really nothing up there for guidance other than the 168, and that's all the way up to 132 and a quarter. So that's what I'm looking at up this upside, because there's not much more to guide us there. I'm not expecting a lot of range extension to the upside today. I really think we're going to get a rotational day with a little bit of a downside bias if they can stay inside of range and inside of value. So in between here, between the 1909, 1910 area, there's really not a lot to lean on. So this is going to be a tough area to trade. But if you want, I would take the break below 1909 and a quarter and put my stop above 1910. And that's going to give you a fairly decent risk reward, with the target being the overnight low to get scaled and funded, with the move to test this 1906.75. And of course, if we stay inside of the value area for 2 TPO counts, then I'd be looking for a push through and a rule of the value area rule 80% play down to test the 1906. And then this 1903 below it is basically where we've got this unauctioned territory and the start of this gap. So I'd be using that as a trade area as well, with the first target being the range high of the prior day, the holiday day, at 1901.75. And then below that, you've got 1900. And if we break below the 1900, then I'm looking for a move down to close this gap out and this naked VPOC down at 1897. And I just front run that just by a tick or two up at 97.50 as a target below. And then there really isn't much there until we get down to 94.75, which would be the value area high from the 3 days that they tried to hold value in around this 1890 and a quarter after making the all-time high at 1898.50. So 1894.75 would be an area that I'd be looking for responsive buyers to step in there. But if we don't hold that, then the move down is all the way down into this 1890.25, which is the VPOC of that 3-day range that they were trying to hold value at. So 1890 and a quarter. And then the bottom side of that, and that CLVN is down at 1886.75 with the value area low at 1887 and a quarter. So I'm going to use 1887 and a quarter. And then below that, you really don't have anything until you come down back to this. You got a little CHVN here at 85.50, but it's really 81.75 that I'd be keeping my eye out for, and that microcomposite VPOC that started this whole move up. Once we went and we had that. When we went up and made that all-time high at 1892 it was 1892.50 because they put one tick above it in the Globex, but it was the 1881. And we kept on coming up to this 81 and rejecting it, and sellers stepping in to hold us down. But once we got up there and held it on the last area of testing it, which was well, we were in this this range here, we accepted that value and then and broke higher. So that would be the target to the downside that I would be looking for strong responsive buying stepping in again. But again, my main hypothesis for the day is to chop around in this this area between 1914 and 1906.75 with a possibility of coming down and testing this 1903. I'm really expecting a rotational day with possibly neutral extreme. If we get below the 1903.50, I think we go all the way back down to 1900. Okay, quickly going over to Russell. And I've got my Russell chart already set up. So we're currently trading right now in around 1837. The 50% retracement is all the way down here at the 1137.50. So we basically retraced to the 50% level of the big breakout candle that we had right here. So we're currently trading around there. Just below us, okay, we've got this 1136.75, which was an area that was a former microcomposite VPOC. So this is the area that we need to see held in order for us to come up and take out the 1140 naked VPOC and the 1140.25 area, which is the to me what will determine whether or not we go up and test the 4150, which is the value area high. With the key number above us right now is this 1142.30. Above 1142.30, I'd be looking for a breakout of the range and a move. The big number up here is this 1146 microcomposite VPOC. So that is my key target. Just below that, we have the overnight high at 1145.25. So if we break out of this 1143.60, we're breaking above the CLVN at 42.30 and above range, and likely to take out the overnight high and the main target above the range, which is this microcomposite naked VPOC at 1146, with the other side of balance being here at 1147.25. Above 1147.25, we've got undetermined value at 48, 49.25, and 50. So those are key area. I'm sorry, 51.30. Those are a triple distribution zone that's got undetermined fair value. I don't think we're going to see that today. I think the same thing with the Russell is that our extension to the upside would be possibly 46 with strong responsive selling stepping in at 46. But if we stay inside of the range, the value from yesterday at 41.60, we're below this key CLVN, and we're likely just to chop around this CHVN at 1139.70 and this 1140 naked VPOC from yesterday. To the downside, the big number is this 1131.40. You got a couple targets below. You've got 36, and then you got the value area low at 1135, and we just put in another new low overnight. So let me just, I gotta move this. Let me just bring this up here for a second. 1136.30 now is our overnight low. We've extended it, and we could extend it even further. So this is actually a much better. Come on. Oh, come on. I'm going to have to draw it. Sorry. don't want to edit the button, I want to use the button. My chart's doing some funny things to me. All right, so if we break below this 1136.75, I'd be looking for a move to take out the overnight low then at 36.25 and a test of the value area low down here at 35. If we break below this 35 area, you've got a prior microcomposite, microcomposite value area high at 1135.25. But if we break that, everything shifts to testing the other side of this balance in this distribution zone, and this test of what was 1131.90 is now been shifted down to 1131.40, and just below that you've got the microcomposite VPOC where we accepted value and tried to hold value after making that swing high at 1135.10. So if we get below this 35, I think we get a bigger extension down into this 31.50. But I think in terms of the Russell, we're going to stay inside a range, and I'll be looking at the two value areas to trade above and below. So I'm going to put a trade area on the value area here as well, because it's right there just below this CLVN at 42.30. But inside of range and inside of value, I think we just chop around in this area. This is a pretty undetermined area distribution, and we're likely just to chop around in this and test possibly the 46 to the high side would be my target to the high side, and 31.40 to the low side with a possible push through down to 1129.50. Going over to take a quick look at the gold, I wanted to just show you. Oh, look, we closed this tech gap. That's a beautiful tech gap close by price example. So we went down, we moved away on the 5-minute too far away from the 9, and we came back and closed that tech gap, and now we're trying to break above the 9 EMA, but so far we're rejecting it.
Were you meaning to show gold, Doug? Because that's an ES chart.
Yeah, no, I was going to gold. I just was taking a quick look at that tech gap close. All right, so on gold, there is a, that's not my gold chart. Why is that not gold? I don't know how that got changed. All right, so we, I got stopped out on my swing long at 12.75.25. I had to lock in profit somewhere. But on the bigger picture, on the daily, we're just coming down on this cup and handle pattern. So we've got a cup and a handle, and we come down, and we hit a low yesterday at 63.20. It doesn't really invalidate the cup and handle yet, not until we break below the 1260 area. That's when I think the pattern is invalidated. But we also have, on the 30-minute, we have an inverted head and shoulder pattern that is setting up, but now it looks like it's also breaking down. We can't, if it breaks this this shoulder right here at 62.40, then it's going to invalidate itself. But something to watch. The measured move on it is 1269.80, but we are seeing with this pop in the indices, we're seeing some weakness come in here in gold, and we could possibly go down to that 1258 area. Just bring that up on the composite here. So you can see what that looks like. So we've broken outside of the balance that we are trading in around the 1291 area, and yesterday we broke outside of the value area low, which was 1285.30, and went down and tested this 1265.10 CLVN. Pushed through it just down to the first CHVN at 63 area, but we really don't have much to hold us up until we get to this 1258.70. So right now we're outside of range, outside of value. I think we get a little bit pushed down towards this 1258.70, but we got to keep an eye on that inverted head and shoulders, because if we do get back above this 1265, then we've got a nice measured move up to the 1269, 1270 area, and that'll put us back inside of testing the range low at 1268.40, and possibly even a move up to the 1274, 1275 area CHPN. So that's what I'm looking at in gold. Again, I think it's just going to be a choppy day with a little bit of weakness to the downside, with the lower target being 1258.70. But if we get above the 1265, rotation back up to 1269, 1270 area. So that's going to complete our morning homework session for Wednesday, May 28, 2014. As always, trade well, trade safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side. All right, so currently right now our center line on the Renko is 950. So a break above the Keltner center line gives us a move to 1915.75. Look at that. 1915.75 is our 127 extension off that swing low. So that works perfectly there. And then a move down, if we can't get above the the center Keltner line, a move down to test the lower line, and it's going to take us down to 1904.25. By the time we get there, it's likely going to be more like 1903.50 area, and a test of that CLVN and that gap area. Taking a look at it on the Russell, currently right now we're just trying to break below the Keltner center line. A test down to the lower line will take us down into that 1136 area and take out the overnight low. If we hold above it, a move up to test the upside takes us up to that LVN and the naked naked Deepak at 1140 area. So pretty solid targets and ranges off the Keltners right now on both the Russell and on the ES.